Hello, and welcome to Split Screen, brought to you by Insert Coin.
Hello and welcome to SplitScreen, brought to you by Insert Coin. My name's Dan Long, and I'm here to introduce you to the amazing people from in and around the world of video games. People who love playing games just as much as you do. Today, I'd like to welcome Doug Cockle. Doug is an actor with credits across theatre, film, TV, video games, radio, and streams. He recently starred as a Dragonborn druid in D&D adventure series Natural 6 and is, of course, the unmistakable, legendary voice of Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher. Doug and Geralt, welcome.
Hello, Dan. Hi, nice to be here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for being part of Split Screen.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. It's fun.
Amazing. So, you're rightfully celebrated as the man behind one of gaming's most iconic characters, Geralt of Rivia, if people didn't know who that was. How did you come to get that role? How did you develop that character? And what was it like to give him a voice?
Oh, well, it all started way back. It did, actually. It started way back in 2005. I was called in for an audition. It was for The Witcher 1, and I auditioned, and I got the role of Geralt. And at the time, Geralt in The Witcher wasn't at all what it is today. It was still very much a book series that had only come out in Polish and German, I think. There had been one TV series that I'd never heard of, and made in Poland. And I just did. The West didn't know about The Witcher. I didn't know about Sapkowski's novels, so neither did I. So I was cast in this role in this breakout game by a very young, very small studio in Poland, and it gradually grew into the thing that it is today. So that's how it started. How I came up with the voice. When I went in for the audition, they kept saying, "Lower, Doug, lower in your register, and no emotion," and all this stuff. And I was trying my best, and then somebody said, "Doug, think about Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry."
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, so you can kind of hear it.
Yeah,
it's the whole, "Go ahead, punk, make my day."
Oh, goosebumps already.
So that's kind of where it comes from.
Oh,
and,
wow!
And then it refined. We refined it over time. I refined it. The writers, helped to give Geralt a fuller emotional life over time. So it's changed over time. And I think a part of your question was, what was the last part of your question? Like, what is it like to?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like a sort of more general question as well. Like, what is it like to? Is there a process of creating that voice? Is there somewhere that you sort of get into that headspace of like that character? And like, obviously, you had like the Clint Eastwood kind of assist on that bit, but is there sort of like a process to get through it, kind of thing?
Well, kind of, and every actor's process is different. But I would probably say that most actors who succeed, if they succeed in gaming, are people who are able to pull from a large tool chest full of things that they can bring out, accents, different character types, different feelings and emotions, and all those kinds of things, different approaches to text, and then act on the spot. Because unlike with film and TV or stage, you can't memorize the lines unless you're doing performance capture, which is a whole different thing. You go in, and more often than not, you're seeing the lines for the first time as you read them. So you're performing. It's almost like improv, but with lines that you're having to improv with.
Got you.
So you have to make very quick decisions. If you're going in for an audition, depending on the information that you have, sometimes you have character concept art. Sometimes you just have a bare minimum of information. Right, he's a soldier. He's pissed off at the world. He hates his boss. His girlfriend back home is breaking up with him. Go, and then you just have to make a choice and go with it. So in the auditions, you just kind of throw out what you think, what your interpretation of this person or this being is in this moment in time. And then if they cast you, then there's more of a process of discovering the character. And I've had the experience more often than not that even though we're officially recording, the first 2 or 3 hours, sometimes the first couple days, if it's a long process of recording, can be about you and the director kind of finding the voice, finding the character's true voice.
So do you do you find that once you've nailed that voice, do you find that that's a thing that you kind of take with you out of the studio as well? Is that something that you find yourself doing in the street and in the shops, like doing the weekly shop, and you suddenly drift into that character?
Well, I do with Geralt now, but that's because when I first started doing Geralt's voice, it was a big stretch for me, and it wasn't in my natural register. I had to really push to get down there and to get to that graveliness. But as I've grown older, and as I've, like an athlete, who trains their muscles, the vocal apparatus is a muscle as much as anything else. So over time, I've trained my voice to go to that and go to it very easily, so I can slip into the Geralt voice without really thinking about it. But that means also that, like, we all do this. We walk around our house talking to ourselves when we're alone.
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah, no, it's not just you. It's everybody, man. Everybody does it. And I might be walking around the house, trying to do various things, and I'll just be like, oh, man, I forgot to do the laundry again. Guess I better put a load on. I don't think about it, but suddenly Geralt's in the room,
Do you think it's a thing where it's particularly with like a character like Geralt, it's like the frustration stroke anger? Have you got like angry with someone and it suddenly spiked out that voice?
No. When I get angry with people, my voice tends to get, I tend to get more insistent, and my pitch goes up.
Right. Okay.
So, but you can imagine if like I was in a restaurant, waiter, there's a fly in my soup.
That'd be amazing. Oh, that I'd love to see that. That'd be fantastic. So, in terms of like acting generally, and sort of specifically the voice acting part of it, how did you like get into that as a career? What was like the path for that?
Well, when I got into it, it wasn't like it is now. Now you can choose, if you wish, to just be a voice actor, and there are people who offer workshops, and there are ways to go about doing that specific thing. I trained, as most people of my generation did. I trained for stage. I went to grad school and I did a Master of Fine Arts degree in acting. I had a few camera classes, but nothing for microphone. When I first moved to the UK, I was just knocking on all the doors I could find, and I did a show at the York Theatre Royal, and through that I met an agent. She didn't quite know what to do with me here in England, because an American actor in England. And but she said, let's stay in touch. She called me a couple weeks later and said, hey, Doug, there's this, I've got this audition for genuine Americans over in Harrogate. I was in York, so it's not too far to go, for a video game. Do you want to go? And I was like, sure. Yeah, I like video games. And I didn't even know they were doing voices for video games, So I went and I got the lead role. It just kind of rolled on from there. So there was no intention to become someone who's known in voice acting in video games. That wasn't a goal of mine. My goal was to be a working professional actor, and I didn't really mind what medium it was in. So it just kind of happened. And I always say to people when I go and talk to students and people who are new to the industry and things like that, I always say, look, it's great to have a goal. If you want to be a voice actor and you want to work in games, fantastic, go for it. But keep your options open as well, especially young actors who are being trained for stage and screen and possibly voiceover work now as well. Still not as common as stage acting now, but there are some courses popping up now. But whatever your goal is, keep your options open, because, like I said, it was kind of an accident that I became part of this industry. And I lump it all together. It's all the same for me, really. But, many people see stage actors as stage actors and film and TV actors as film and TV, and voice actors as voice actors, which is not really true, because an actor is an actor, whatever medium you happen to work most in. But I never thought when I was training or in my early career that this is what I would primarily do in my career. And that's because when I was training, this wasn't a viable path.
Yeah.
So as technology changes and becomes more accessible and is relevant in different ways, different opportunities might open up. So you may try to enter the industry and go, I want to be a voice actor. That's my one goal. And then the industry pulls you in a different direction. And I suppose what I'm saying is don't ignore the pull. If I
Yeah.
had ignored that pull in 1999, when casting directors for film and TV poo-pooed my voiceover work, they didn't poo-poo it. They just like when they, went in for TV castings and they would go, what have you been working on lately? And I'd been mostly doing video games and they didn't really care. They were like,
Yeah.
that's not real acting. What else have you been doing? The more important acting work. And I think we're all recognizing now that actors in video games are just as important, just as valuable, and just as important to the
Absolutely.
creative process as any other actor on stage or screen. But it wasn't always that way. So anyways, don't ignore the pull. The pull may take you in a direction you never would have thought of, and it may end up being something fantastic, just like acting in video games has become for me.
I think that's really good advice, isn't it? Because, like you say, you don't know where these things are going to come from. You've got that skill base that you've learned to do things on stage and on screen and things like that, and it is just an application of your skills, but in a slightly different way, and sort of looking at things in different way. And I think it's lovely as well that because obviously you were a gamer and you are passionate about games, that you kind of had that. Oh yeah, actually, that's like almost like a switch. You could sort of see when you were describing it, like there's a little switch. Oh yeah, no, that's a really good. I love those. I can go down that route. I think that's really good advice. So we've spoken to a few different people across the industry, obviously in split screen, and that seems to be a guiding light, a guiding voice in everyone's ear, is that just go with the pull and go with your heart and what you think, there's that opportunity there, and like grab it with both hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there is, of course, power in having focus. I had a student once, because I taught at university as well. I taught acting at drama schools and universities for many years. And I had this one student, I won't name him. He'll know who he is if he watches this. He graduated and he was this tall, handsome dude. He did martial arts and stuff and he was really into it. And he was a good actor. And he got cast in, I think it was Coronation Street, as a
Oh wow.
main recurring character. But he didn't want to do that. He had been developing a stunt career.
Right.
And
Yep.
he turned down, I think it was, I don't remember what the contract was, but it was the kind of job that most actors a year out of drama school would have just killed for. And he turned it down because he was like, that's not what I want to do. I actually want to do this, and I've been working towards this. And he went off and he did this.
That's amazing.
And he still works in the stunt industry. So, go after your focus, but don't ignore the pull. The pull may be something equally cool that doesn't necessarily totally derail you.
Good advice. Good advice. So obviously you've done, in terms of like the voice acting side of things, you've done video game characters, obviously, but you've also voiced animated characters as well with the new Witcher series that's coming out on Netflix. Is there a difference between how you approach those two, even though it's the same character? Are they different in the way that you approach them, or is it just the same, like the comfortable slipper kind of voice that you can slip into, obviously, but is there a different approach to it?
Not really, no. It's the process is pretty much the same. The main difference I experienced was going in and doing the ADR work for what we generally call efforts.
Right.
So when Geralt is hacking and slashing at his foes or running through the forest or whatever it is, all these things, we recorded those to the animation. So they would play me the animation and then we'd go back to the top of the animation. So I'd get an idea where I needed to make specific sounds and things like that. And then we go back through and I would improvise Geralt's vocal work to the animation, which is different from in games. In games, you generally don't do that.
So is it like kind of almost like the reverse? I guess you make those and then they sort of like drop them in as they're needed for a video game, whereas you're kind of like almost ad-libbing over the top of, like improv over the top of what you're seeing as the animated scene. That's amazing. That's really cool.
I mean, you can understand why as well, because in the animation, that's going like any film or any media-based thing. Well, anything that you watch, you have no control over what the characters do. That's fixed for all time. But in a game, your actions create change. Every push of the button makes the character do something else. So you can't predict that. I'd be in the studio for 10 years recording every possible combination of button pushes.
Just on the phone. So someone's playing and they've got you on like, I'm jumping now.
Yeah. So you record all those efforts, and then and you might record, jumping 6 or 8 different ways. And then the developers, I assume, I don't know this, but I'm guessing through application of algorithms and how a player is playing and what they're making the character do, one of the 6 options shows up when he jumps.
That's really cool. It's one of those things that you get all the time. Obviously, in games, you get it all the time in like animated TV shows, but you kind of don't think about how that kind of comes together.
It's
kind of
all
like
put together, yeah.
The magic in the box is the thing that as the end user kind of thing sees it. So away from The Witcher, obviously you've started a new adventure, a D&D adventure with Natural Six, and obviously you developed a new character there. That's kind of like your own character, right? So how did you go about developing your character for that series?
Oh man, Natural Six is so cool. We're having so much fun with this. And it's gaining steam as well. We're not, none of us are really getting paid yet. We're just managing to keep the lights on at Natural Six Towers. But we're having a great time doing it. It's like the really expensive game of golf. But we're having great fun. So yeah, the character, Calmus is his name. He's a dragonborn druid. And he actually he's kind of a collaborative creation between me and Harry McIntyre, our DM. I had originally thought that I wanted to play a ranger. It's what I always want to play because I'm a big Aragorn fan. The complete dork in me coming out there. I want to play Aragorn.
I blame you. That's not a bad person to be a fan of, right?
Yeah. So he asked us to come to him with our ideas so he could tweak the party just enough so that we have, the right mix of,
like
tanks versus healers versus, all that stuff. And so when I brought him my idea, he said, well, you know what, Doug, actually at the moment, we're a little bit light on healing on people who can do healing spells. And rangers can't really do that, not until they're much higher levels. But if you think about a druid, they're very similar to a ranger, and then you can be one of the healers in the party. And I was like, I hadn't really thought about that. And I've never really played a spellcaster before. So I thought, well, druid is a nice mix because they've got a good mix of being down and dirty in the melee, in the fights, but also being able to stand back and chuck lightning or healing spells or whatever is most useful. So it's been an interesting journey. I'm finding that I'm not the best. I'm learning how to be a spellcaster. I hold back on my spells, especially the healing spells, because if I feel like I'm going to need them more in 2 rounds than I need them now, I wait until I absolutely need them.
It's the gamer's lament, right? It's the thing of like you collect these things up and it's like, oh, I don't want to you hoard them like Smaug. You want to like hold them close to your chest.
Exactly.
Like, no, I don't want to use it yet. No. What if I need it later?
And my colleagues sometimes are like, I could cast Healing Word as a bonus action, and I forget or I go, yeah, but that's one of my, I think it's a first level spell. That's one of my first level spells gone. And then I've already used 2 of the slots. Then I would only have 1 more. And what if I need blah? What if I, it's like, oh no. But yeah, he came about through that conversation. But then at the time I was kind of smitten by the whole idea of druidry. And I started reading some stuff and I was just like, this is cool. I like this idea. So then he kind of developed out of me being interested in the whole concept of druidry, modern day druidry, but also ancient druidry. And then translating that a little bit into Calnus.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that's what's really lovely is that, well, first of all, that you're so passionate about a character and like whether it's one you've made or not, it's like you can see that love coming out of you. It's like really like you're really passionate about like making them come alive kind of thing. But I think it's such a lovely kind of viewpoint to sort of try something new and not like just go, oh no, I really want to be the ranger. I want to sort of do that part. You go, actually, no, that's a really good, something a bit different, and you're broadening your horizons and trying something new.
Yeah, and it's been great fun as well. And I mean, all of us, all five of us who created characters for this have thought really, a lot about our characters. And I can only speak for myself, but I put a lot of myself into Kelness. So God forbid he should ever get killed, because I think I will openly weep.
I think that's the thing, right? With like tabletop games like D&D and ones like that. It's that the longer they go on, the tighter you get with them, and then it's like, oh no, actually the leak's going both ways of the personality, and so he's like you're desperate to self-preserve that character, because that's like part of you that's gone, and it's like, oh no, must wrap in cotton wool, because it's dangers that you don't see it's not like the dangers of crossing the road or like going to the shops or whatever. It's like the dangers of, here comes a huge dragon, here comes like some kind of plague or some sort of spell that's going to affect you. It's sort of like so out there that you're kind of, I guess the projection's even bigger.
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. I just know that whether I'm working or playing, I tend to put myself into the thing that I'm doing. And I think it makes me a good actor, because I people have different theories of acting and different ways of going about it and different ways of doing it. But I feel that my way of doing it is I put this is going to sound really naff, but I put a little piece of my soul into everything I do.
I think that's lovely. That's a lovely thing, right?
It's the only way I feel I can walk away from it feeling like, because for me, it's all about finding the truth in the character. Even if the character's ridiculous, you got to find the truth of the ridiculousness of that character, because otherwise it's not funny. Nobody can connect to a character that doesn't have some depth to it, some real depth. So finding that truth in the character is what I'm all about. But in order to do that, I think you have to put a little piece of yourself into that character. And sometimes, in actor training, we talk about actors being vulnerable, learning to be vulnerable. And that's exactly what we're talking about, is that this ability to take a piece of yourself that maybe you don't want to share with the world, and you put it into this character and you share it with the world through this character. And it's not therapy. I've never ever felt that acting was therapy. It's an art form. It's a craft. It's a beautiful art form and a beautiful craft, but it's definitely not therapy, and it should never be therapy. But you have to put a little piece of yourself into it in order for it to ring true to the people who are playing the game or watching the film or watching the play on stage. If you're not putting a piece of yourself into it, you're not really doing your job. Equally, I think that I also try to take a little piece of the character into me. So there's this trade-off that happens between you and the character, and if you get it right, it's a thing of beauty. And you don't always get it right, but that's what you're always going for, is that wonderful balance of character and self, and how you layer them and to create a character that's believable and truthful. I'm sorry, I'm going off.
No, absolutely. You know what? I find it fascinating, because I can't act myself, but I've got a real appreciation of it. And I love going to stage shows, and I love watching films and playing games and stuff like that. And I think I've never been able to verbalize it, because it's something that I've not like, I don't study it kind of thing, and I don't do it. So, but what you've done is exactly that thing. Is like, you can see like the osmosis between the character and the actor. And if you can feel that there, it makes it real. Like there's like this almost like a third really real thing that you're seeing. And it's like, wow, this is a performance kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that, you kind of, oh, it's so interesting and multi-layered and different. Like I said, different actors do different things. So my approach is my approach. Someone else's approach might be to completely bury themselves in the character and, live the character day and night. And that's fine. If that's what you're into, go for it. For me, that sounds like an awful lot of painful and really hard work.
It is a fascinating thing to see how people sort of bring these things to life each time. And you get these different, there's so many characters now, particularly in video games, and there's so many that people love and love to hate. I think it's lovely to see. I think you can, whether it's a game or on stage or whatever it is, you can tell if someone's kind of phoning it in or if they're like pouring a little bit into it, and it's instantly it's not even. I think it's one of those things that almost as a human you kind of pick up without even knowing you're picking it up. You kind of just go, that's real. That's an emotion.
And some people, for some people, that's a really, really effective strategy as well, because I'm not going to name any names because it'll get me in trouble. But there are actors out there who, especially actors who started as comedians.
Yep.
If they came in through stand-up and then for whatever reason they became actors as well. You can often see it, especially in their early work, where there's this kind of, they're almost trying too hard.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because stand-up is a different thing. Stand-up is a whole different art form, and the skills for that are similar but different. And there's a certain amount of I don't even know what to call it because I don't do stand-up, but you can see in people like Robin Williams I said I wasn't going to name names, but Robin Williams is a really good example. He was the consummate comedian. He, like, stand-up was his vibe. It was his thing. And when he first started doing acting like Mork and Mindy and stuff like that, you could not stop him improvising. He wouldn't stick to a script, and he was funny. But as he developed his understanding of acting in later roles like Good Will Hunting and the Fisher King and stuff like that, he developed a depth that was so moving.
Yeah.
That was informed by his ability in stand-up, but it's different. I don't know why we're talking about this. Why are we talking about? Because it's different things, depending on, with live performance or any performance, it really depends on, the audience you're trying to reach, what you're trying to get them to feel or understand, and the medium that you're working in. So it's, my process that I'm describing to you is great for the kind of work I tend to do. But if I was going to go and do a stand-up show, I'd be completely and utterly different. I wouldn't be looking for truth in my performance. I would be looking for truth in the audience's recognition of themselves in what I'm describing.
Yeah, I get you.
Which is similar but different. It's
like the same sort of end goal in that you've connected with the audience, but you've kind of got it from a slightly different
angle,
different route kind of thing. Yeah.
God, I'm sure there are people watching this now going, "Oh, that Doug, he's such a wanker. Listen to him." God, listen to him and his opinions. Oh my God.
No, I think that's really interesting. I think it's really interesting because it's not. There's always this talk about video games being art or not art, and where do they fit within the media landscape of everything else that people consume. But I think I don't think people necessarily think about how they're constructed from so many different disciplines, so many different parts. They all kind of come together and coalesce in the great games, in the good and the great games. They coalesce in a way that is, I think, probably almost the problem is that they're so seamless that you don't realize that this isn't just one person sort of bashing this out in a basement somewhere and like making it together. Oh, there it is, it's done. This is like dozens, hundreds of people all working together, all with different skill sets, all making, in the same way as you are, like they're pouring everything into it, and so you're getting this kind of complete picture of everything. I think it's important to recognise that as an industry that it's not just one person's vision or one person's part in it. It's kind of it's a team effort, but it's also artistry. It is artistry, whether it's code or voice or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a collaborative art form. In fact, almost all art forms are collaborative in one way or another, because a writer writes a novel and then an editor goes through it and makes sure that it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So very few, if anybody, who writes a book doesn't end up having someone look at their work and suggest minor changes or major changes. I'm trying to think if there are any artists who have no collaboration. Maybe a painter.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was like a sculptor or something like that. It's like just in that where you're secluded away kind of thing.
But even then, quite often they're doing commissions. So someone has asked them to do something.
Yeah. And they've got like they've sort of scamped out like a design roughly of like what, this is what it should look like at the end kind of thing. They've got a rough idea of where they're headed.
Yeah, I mean, there are, of course, artists also sit in their studio and just paint or draw or sculpt or whatever it is, and perhaps that is the most pure form of art because it is just coming from that one person and whatever source of inspiration they had, which could be a book or a flower that they saw on a walk or whatever it is. But with games, it's very, very much a collaborative art form. It's probably more so than any other medium, actually, because there are just that many more hands involved.
That neatly brings us back to video game voices. If you could voice any other video game character, perhaps one who hasn't previously had a voice, so from the history of gaming, who would you choose, and what do you think that character would sound like? Well, I'm putting you on the spot a bit, but
I think it's a misleading question, actually, because if it hasn't been voiced yet, then you'd have to go back to something like Pac-Man or Asteroids, games that had no voices in them. And then, who knows? I mean, Mario was voiced by Charles Martinet for many years. The gorilla in Donkey Kong? Did he ever have a voice? I don't know.
I don't think. I'm trying to think if they did. Like,
Mario, you cannot climb up here. Maybe that's Donkey Kong.
There you go. That's it. It's sealed. That's in the can. We've got that ready. One take. That's it. Done. Sorted.
I am your princess.
So we're going to go into AUTOFIRE questions now, which you don't have to answer them quickly. They're just questions that.
Well, before we do that, Dan, can I just say,
yes,
I have very deliberately chosen to wear.
Look at that! Beautiful.
Insert coin. This is one of yours.
It is one of our Witcher collection.
Yeah. And look, I have here just in case I get cold, because I knew I was coming on this. I have this as well, which is absolutely lovely. Big old jumper. It's got the signs on the sleeve. You guys sent me this. It's lovely. I thought I'd wear these today, or wear at least the T-shirt today.
That's really appreciated. Thank you. And it's lovely to be able to. It is one of those things that's really nice, and it kind of completes the circle for us when we've got like amazing talent who are working on games that we can then go, hey, look, we'd love you to have this stuff because it's kind of we love you in the game, and so then it all sort of comes around, and it's a beautiful circle that we can complete.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's get into the questions. So these are the questions that I don't know why we're doing that all of a sudden. Like we're going to spar on this. AUTOFIRE questions. So these are the questions that a gamer would ask another gamer when you first meet, perhaps, and just to get an idea of what sort of stuff you're into and who you are as a gamer. So we'll kick off with hopefully an easy one. What is your first video game memory?
My first video game memory. Wow, it's a toss-up actually between. Okay, my first console memory was Pong.
Nice. Yep.
Way long ago, where it only did one game. Pong.
I remember those ones.
And that was it.
Was it wooden with the dials?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could play against the computer.
Yep.
Or you could play against another person, but it was just Pong. That was all it was. But that was the first console I ever got my hands on. But my first memory of actual video games was the arcades of the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, and walking into, it was always like a brick building that had very little signage. You crawled into this cave, and there was the sound of people putting dollar bills into the change machine, and then you scrape up your coins, and you have a pocket full of coins. You washed cars, you mowed lawns, you earned $5, and you went to the arcade. And you walk into this place, and it's all these sounds and lights, and they're selling hot dogs from a grubby little window over in the corner of the room, and everything's a little bit sticky, It's just like, and you play Pac-Man and Defender and just all those classic ones.
I think, well, that's, as being called Insert Coin, we're kind of like all
Yeah,
about the arcades, right? So that's lovely because it is. I'm glad to hear as well that I'm guessing those are arcades in the States, that they sound exactly like arcades arcades in the UK as well, with just that sort of like vague stickiness and the same sort of like really like ultra stimulation noise kind of thing going all the
yeah.
time.
I think arcades now do not recreate that. They're the games are too modern. There's always gambling machines and there's basketball things, and that's all great stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But my memory is of a time when it was literally just the cabinet games,
Yep.
and it was a room full of these, and it was a little bit dark in the space. And it was just a bunch of geeky people in there feeding quarters into slots, and
That's what it's all about, right?
yeah,
It's how you. I think that's the thing as well. It's sort of when you go back and you play arcade games. Arcade games obviously were tough for a reason, but you play like those early console ones as well, and like computer games, like if they were on Spectrum or Amiga or whatever, they were so hard and so ruthless. And I think that sort of like set the generation up of like those early gamers, because then when you go and play something, it's like, oh, actually, they were so much nicer, like so much easier, those ones afterwards. And now they're starting to get tough again. But we had that golden era of like, oh, actually, these games aren't going to just take my quarters after 5 minutes and just
yeah.
that's it. Oh, I need to earn more money again.
Do you remember there was a game? It was the first real video game, I think. It was called Dragon's Lair or Dragon's
Yeah. I know the
Quest.
one. Yeah, I know the one you mean.
And you played
It was
this.
like really like sort of like almost like Disney-fied sort of graphics. Yeah, I know the one you mean.
That one drove me nuts.
That was really
quarters.
hard.
Yeah, it was really hard. Yeah, and I think one day I fed like $10 worth of quarters into that thing, and I didn't get very far. I was just determined I was going to try, and man, to this day, I can still see that screen when you die.
That was your first like memory, but what's your favorite game of all time? Don't worry, you can you're not contractually obliged, maybe. I don't know. To like is it The Witcher?
Well, definitely The Witcher, but that's for more personal reasons than anything else. The Witcher has been great to work on. I've so enjoyed getting to know Geralt and spending all this time with him, and his story isn't entirely over yet. So just through the opportunities that being part of the Witcher world is offered to me. I mean, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, Dan, if it wasn't for The Witcher.
What a benefit that you've got.
Hey, don't put yourself down, man.
To this.
No, I just mean that, it's opened doors for me that wouldn't have opened for me if I hadn't been part of it. And for that reason, The Witcher in my life has been a real blessing. But okay, it's a toss up now between my two favorite games, right? I'm not a first person shooter kind of guy. I suck at those kind of games. I just do not have the hand-eye coordination or whatever it is. I die immediately. I spawn, I take 3 steps and someone kills me. And then
Me too.
And it's just like, at some point I just go, you know what? This isn't for me. This is not my wheelhouse. The games I enjoy most are RPGs, but like The Witcher and things like that. But I've played 2 games that will, I think, to my dying day, will stay in my memory. One is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yep. Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is a game, but it isn't in some ways because you can't die. It's more like an interactive graphic novel.
Yeah.
But it's so beautifully done. And I played it like 5 times now. And I just love it. And I wept at the end the first time. I like sat there and cried at the end of that game. More recently, it's Thank Goodness You're Here.
Oh yeah. That yeah.
Which is such a beautiful game. It's so well done. And again, you can't die. It's more of an adventure that you go on. And it just tells this beautiful story. And with such a light-hearted look at the north of England. And and you can play through it in about 2 or 3 hours if you just, go with the flow and you don't explore too much. And I just loved it. I played it recently, and I could not put it down. And yeah,
I think
just love it.
they're two really good choices, very different choices, but particularly thank goodness you're here is so. It's one of those games that when I played it last year, wasn't it, that came out? It was one of those games where you couldn't help but smile when you're playing it.
Yeah.
You kind of like catch yourself of like, my God, I'm really enjoying this. It's just like it sort of like overwhelmed you as a feeling of joy, and it's kind of what games are all about, right? It's that thing of like pure escapism, pure fun, and it's just like there isn't, like you say, there's no like dying. It's not like there's no challenge there, but you could get stuck. You could get sort of lost in the loop of where you've got to go next. But it's kind of, even that was fun. That was fun, exploring how to sort of work out where to go next. And even if you went back the wrong way or you went somewhere that you shouldn't, it was kind of joyous and funny about how it handled that.
Yeah, there's one thing from Thank Goodness You Were Here that I think it encapsulates the game. There are these two characters on a street, and they're talking, and they're kind of bickering at each other a little bit. And gradually, as you see them throughout the game, they end up in a trash can together playing cards. And it just makes no sense. But every time you see them, there's an evolution of their relationship and their place in this game world.
And you don't know how they've got there, but you don't need to. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. I think they are two really good choices. And obviously, you've got The Witcher in between them to like hold them together as glue. So they're games that we've done sort of past games and games that you love. What would be your ideal future game? If someone could make any kind of game at all, it could be from an existing series, it could be something that's already been announced and on its way, or it could be something from Doug Cockle's mind. What would be your ideal game, type of game?
Well, God, if I told you that, I'd give away my trade secrets. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I like RPGs. Yeah. So it would be an RPG, preferably in a fantasy type world. That's all I can come up with.
That's fine.
That's what I like. I like RPGs in fantasy worlds.
That's it. You know what, as well? I know, A, that it would be brilliant, and B, everyone would love it. That would be superb. So you've heard it here first. Doug Cockle's RPG coming soon. So while you're playing games, what is your go-to gaming snack?
Ooh, my go-to gaming snack. Do you know, I don't snack that much when I game, actually. It's more of a drink.
That's fine. That's still eligible.
Yeah. So, because I don't like eating when I'm gaming, because I don't like getting crud on my controllers. I like my gaming controllers to be clean and not sticky. So if I'm feeling, well, ordinarily what I would have is like, I would have a cup of squash, just water with some, like there's this one I really like. It's raspberry and peach squash.
Nice choice.
Really nice, and it's a little bit diluted down. It's not too strong, and it's just a nice, quick sip of something tasty and sweet, but not nothing too calorific or anything like that. But if I'm feeling saucy, a G&T.
Nice.
Or
that's very refined. That's a refined drink.
It is a refined drink, or like I've been known to have a small glass of brandy.
That's very good as well. It's a really, really elegant. Normally we do sort of, what are your go-to gaming snacks? It's like Cheetos or
I was just going to say Cheetos. Like, something that leaves orange residue all over your hand, and then you get it all over your controller, and then you smear it all over your face. Yeah.
But now, Doug Cockle, you know that we're you're gonna need to make your Doug Cockle brand. I think it's like aviation gin kind of thing. You're going to have a Doug Cockle brand.
You know what?
Like brandy.
Yeah, no. Oh, brandy would be awesome. But look, you guys make clothes. Insert Coin makes clothes.
We do.
Right. Okay. So if it's my brand and it's clothes, then it's got to be socks. Now, the only reason I say this is because I was doing quite a bit of streaming last year, playing games and streaming and stuff, and I haven't done any at all since like July, I think, for various reasons. But when I was doing it, there was this one evening I don't know why. I got a bit punchy and funny, and I decided to share with the people on the stream something that my sister had sent me. And what my sister had sent me was this pair of socks. When you put them on your feet, depending on which trouser leg you roll up, because it has it on both, there's a penis that sticks out of your trouser leg,
Right.
that's on the sock. So and my sister sent me these, and I was like, I think it's hilarious that I've got these cock socks. But even more hilarious that it was my sister that sent me the cock socks. So anyways, I was telling all these people about the cock socks, and then we started, chatting I was chatting with the chat, and I was like, yeah, I should open a shop called Doug Cockle's Cock Sock Shop. And it could just be different sizes, and lengths and girths and colors of penis sticking out of the bottom of your trouser leg on your sock.
This is amazing. All these revelations that are coming out, all these new business ideas, the game, the socks, it's all coming together, right?
Doug Cockle's Cock Sock Shop.
So, leading on from that, which unbelievably, it kind of does segue on from that. Who do you think is the best dressed video game character?
Oh, do you know, I'm going to get this wrong, but I can see him in my head. Yeah, Agent 49?
Hitman Agent 47.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yes.
Yeah.
Hitman Agent 47.
Yes, I think that's a really good shout, because he's got his classic look, but then he can adopt so many different looks, and it always, is the right, he's got the right look for that role, right?
He's so stylish,
There's one, I think there's a mission where it's in like a country house, and it's kind of like a Knives Out kind of parody. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a bit where he's like you can go into the country house as like a detective. So like the Daniel Craig sort of character, but sort of like a version of it. And he has like a modern sleuth's sort of outfit that he can wear that sort of allows him sort of access to pretty much everywhere. And it's like, it's amazing. It's so good. But yeah, he is a style icon, to be fair. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our show, and for promoting your brand of brandy and socks that will be coming soon, and games that will be coming soon. What else have you got coming up?
Oh, I've got several games in the works. I don't know when they're coming out exactly. The timelines for these things are often a mystery to us actors. But watch this space. There's several projects I'm working on. Several projects that I'm still working on as well. I mean, we've got, I play Ajax in the First Descendant video game.
Okay.
And they're bringing out, well, I don't know how many more chapters, but they're bringing out expansions and stuff like that. So that's ongoing. I'm in a film that's coming out sometime this year, if it comes out at all. And if I'm in it at all, the cutting room floor is full of my performances in various things. But Jay Kelly, directed by Noah Baumbach. I think he wrote it as well.
Oh, amazing.
I've got a nice little role in that. Just like one scene, but it's a nice little thing. Watch this space.
Do you need any more after that? That's an amazing lineup, right? That's superb. Oh, that's really exciting. That's really cool. Everyone check that out and make sure you keep an eye on that. And thank you so much, Doug, for being part of Split Screen today and for taking your time to talk with us. And thank you for watching as well. And we hope to see you soon for another episode of Split Screen. Take care.
Yeah, Split Screen, baby!
Right. Yeah! Check out the Insert Coin outro now. Woo!
Insert Coin has been creating unique official gamer gear since 2010. From Ace Attorney to Yakuza, Cyberpunk 2077 to Astrobot. Represent your favourite games in style at www.insertcoinclothing.com. Split Screen, powered by Insert Coin.